Hi everyone. I don't know if one person is going to see this or 10 people are going to see it, but I'm just going to go ahead and talk about the recent anti-Asian events and make this an unedited sort of video. But I haven't spoken a ton about race on here. On other platforms I have, but it's been weird this past year. As a doctor, as an Asian American, during this pandemic. I think first of all, last year there was a lot of attention about racial injustice with the Black Lives Matter movement, and that coinciding with the pandemic definitely got a lot of people more aware of racial injustice in the country, and I never felt super comfortable speaking up about my own situation or kind of anti-Asian sentiment at the time because in some ways I felt like what my Black friends are going through and what they've always gone through just deserves so much more attention that I almost felt like uneasy or just didn't feel like it was my time to talk about it. And the truth is, during the pandemic this past year, there's been a lot of references to the Chinese virus, to China flu, or whatever people called it, or certain politicians called it, and I almost expected this to happen to a certain extent early on in the pandemic because I knew that there's been issues with associating, names of places with diseases in the past. But last year, someone actually yelled a racial slur at me across the street from where I work as I was walking out the hospital, and I was wearing hospital scrubs, and it was just a really strange feeling, and I didn't really have time to process it, wasn't in the mood to process it, just wanted to move on, and there was just so much else happening with the pandemic at the time, the confusion around it, around about a year ago at this time, that I just kind of didn't want to think about it. And as long as I was safe and didn't feel threatened, I was just gonna, scurry back home and not think about it. And with recent events, with anti-Asian kind of hate crimes, it's definitely got me thinking more about that and clearly thinking more about the entire situation as a whole. I don't like to compare racial injustice, like what my Black friends go through versus what we're starting to see here with anti-Asian sentiment, because I never was racially profiled, or I'm not racially profiled the way my Black friends are by the police. I've never experienced police brutality, as an Asian American. And growing up, I felt like the racism, in terms of microaggressions and things like that, never was manageable. And whether it's just jokes about our facial features, our eyes, or the food that we bring to school, as an Asian man, jokes about Asian male bodies, the fetishization of Asian men and women, that all to me was manageable, and never really felt like it bothered me because it wasn't causing me physical harm or it didn't threaten my safety. And I always felt like there was a way that I could compensate for it by, studying more or outperforming in other aspects of my life. And that's because I also had the privilege of being able to do that and having had the resources and the ability to, to perform well in those areas and allow other aspects of my life to kind of shine through. But I can definitely empathize now with my Black friends when it comes to feeling, powerless to external factors. And that's the thing, it's no amount of inner strength is really going to help protect you from reckless behavior by others. And I think that's what's different about recent events with these anti-Asian, especially in particular, the Atlanta shootings. And I know that there's been some criticism that wow, this one event has caused a lot of media hype, and but the truth is that this is something that's been ongoing. There's been recurrent events over the past year and throughout history, the past century of this happening just hasn't received as much media attention, and it's time to certainly be more aware of what's going on. And just because doesn't mean that it's the only thing happening, but just because there are other things also happening in the world doesn't mean that this doesn't deserve attention or is right. Clearly there's anti-Asian sentiment out there and it's wrong. And it's been particularly strange seeing some people using other ways to try to justify what's been happening, or at least explain away what's been happening, like, oh, but there's so many successful Asians out there, or wealthy Asians out there, or or saying, like, why don't you just appreciate what your culture already has, what your race already has? People enjoy your culture and enjoy the food and other aspects of it, martial arts, which I don't understand what any of that has to do with me or any other Asian Americans or individuals within this community. And certainly, like, you can't really compare one person's success and explain away other individuals within a group, especially when there are plenty of underprivileged Asian Americans out there who are struggling, financially, and don't have the socioeconomic capacity that others do. But in any case, I think it's been a strange year, especially as a health professional working during the pandemic, being appreciated in some ways for what we're doing, but at the same time also seen as a source of the pandemic, which obviously, as an American, as someone who's not even from China, cannot really accept the fact that people are associating me with a virus. So in any case, just wanted to, speak out about the situation. My heart goes out to, everyone who's been affected by recent events or has ever been affected by any of these sort of racist hate crimes. And of course, like I said, this is not the only situation out there that's deserving of attention, and there are definitely other minority groups or marginalized groups out there that face a lot of similar bias and prejudice and discrimination out there. But yeah, I just felt like I had another video planned for this weekend. I haven't been uploading quite as much recently, but I felt like this deserved the attention of me talking about my experience and my thoughts. If it does help anybody, if it raises a little bit more awareness, even within the Asian American community, I hope that we can all learn to empathize more with others, be more understanding, especially in this time. And I know that it's been difficult to do that over the past year for a lot of different reasons. Everyone's trying to kind of figure out priorities in their own life. But to just know that, hopefully even within the Asian American community, it'll help us empathize with our Black brothers and sisters with what they've always had to deal with. Hopefully we can all learn from this experience in several different ways. But in any case, I know I've rambled on for a bit. I hope everyone stays safe, stays healthy, and that's all for today. Thanks and bye.